What's going on, everybody? It's the Overlook Drive In live on Phantom Empire. March the 21st, 2023, and apparently not much has changed in the world of Star Wars, and we're going to get to that a little later on, actually. We got a Star Wars segment tonight, which I'm sure my co-host can't wait for, as in he can't wait to get the hell out for. Joining me tonight, he is the man, myth, legend behind the Take One podcast. Bad taste in NASCAR drivers, but he can't be perfect at everything. Mike Fish. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Excited to be here. Great intro, by the way. Great intro. I disagree with a lot of that, but it is what it is. Should be a good weekend for you, NASCAR wise. Going to COTA. So.
Yeah, I don't know. That's going to require them to bring a car that runs worth a damn. So they haven't done that this year. That's a story for another time, though. For those of you that end up watching the replay of this, which will be both of you because there was no stream, no advertising done until like the last 10 minutes. Again, we are in the middle of moving. So things are kind of crazy. There'll be no show next week. I can't promise you I won't be live again this week because we might have something to go live about, but we'll see if that happens or not. So tonight we're ranking Scream, the franchise, 1 through 6. I'm actually really curious to see how Mike and I's list match up, and then right after that, or not right after that, but the next episode of the Overlook Drive In, we're gonna steal Lee McCoy, aka Drum Dum's idea, and we're gonna put Scream and Halloween together, but we're gonna spice it up and throw the first two, anyways, I Know What You Did Last Summer movies in there. So that gives you, if I'm doing my math right, that ends up becoming a 21 list movie list. And I'm really curious to see where it ranks up. It's a really good idea by Lee to do that. I haven't watched his video yet on it, but I'm curious because I think I'd have some Scream movies higher than Halloween movies, and I think some people might be surprised just how much higher than some of them.
I can't wait to hear that, man. That's going to be a hell of a list. Like, I can't wait to dive into that. I'm going to have to start getting my list together already. I know a little over a week away on that, but I'm hyped. I'm hyped for that.
Yeah, that would be 2 weeks today because there'll be no show next week. So 2 weeks today. What's going on, Terry? Long time no see, buddy. Ken, how's it going? We will try to be as active in the chat as we can tonight, but the truth is we are on a bit of a timeline. So feel free to fire any questions, comments in there that you might have, whether it's pertaining to the topics that we're talking about, or if there's something else you want us to talk about. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what's on Mike's hat. I can't quite make it out.
It's Michael, man.
And then we're going to talk about Star Wars. And I feel like we're going to provide a very blunt approach to the topic. If you're used to listening to podcasts that constantly sugarcoat everything in the world of Star Wars, whether it be good or bad, doom or gloom, this isn't going to be either of that. It's just going to be honesty. And we'll get to that, and we'll have some other people on for that as well. Mike, what's going on with Take One, man? We'll get this out of the way now. What do you got coming out? And what do you have?
Well, it's the shape that's on my hat, by the way.
Really? I can't make that out. Oh, now I can. Is that 6?
It is 6. I got this at Walmart for $6.
Walmart?
For $6.
Why doesn't Walmart Canada sucks?
Oh, dude, Walmart. Walmart has like $8 graphic horror tees. I found this hat in there. They have horror socks in there. Walmart's actually pretty nice when it comes to horror merch, man. It's not bad at all.
Tommy used to come on here and brag all the time about how he'd find this or that at Walmart, and I'd be going to my Walmart and they have Dick All. He's not a fat guy either, but because Walmart up here has Dick All, so it's like Walmart Light.
Yeah, man. Take One Podcast just released a episode this week. We ranked the Rocky and Creed series, or I guess I should say franchise. Not sure what I have coming in the coming weeks yet, man. Still trying to plan those out. We obviously did the road to Scream 6 and then did the Scream 6 review, which was really great. Definitely appreciate everybody that tuned into that. It was easily my largest live watch show ever. So that was greatly appreciated for everybody that tuned in. Appreciate you, Sean, for promoting that. But yeah, man, it's going pretty good over there. Pretty good.
Well, dude, more people need to watch your show. You're putting out some of the best horror content out there. Like, I know you're not going to sugarcoat something just for the sake of doing it. You're not giving a gold star to everybody just for the sake of doing it. Mike's an honest guy, so you're going to get honest takes. And, not to throw shots, but that's more than you get from a lot of people out there right now. So, last I checked, Mike, you're not on like Paramount's guest list for any of their upcoming movies yet. So
I am not.
So not to say he can't be, but like he's got no iron in the fire. There are lots of people that are on invite lists for various studios. So no one in particular, and yeah, they tend to be more favorable. It happens. I'm just curious. Spoil this for me. Rocky 4 in your top 3?
Yes.
Yeah. Good man.
It is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good man. What's going on, Ty? I actually just went to shoot you a message and just kind of caught up with everything. So maybe email me your number and I'll text you. That'd be way easier because I rarely use email, man, unless it's like something business-like. I hate email. So I know I'm a pretentious snob at times. Steven Schinder already has his list, man. He's beating us to the punch. Scream 1 is number 1. We got we got Scream 6, is that? Yeah, Scream 6, number 2. Scream 2 is number 3. Scream 4 is number 4. Scream 5 is number 5. I see what you did there. And number 6 is Scream 3. I will say this, man. My ranking has changed, not just because it's a new movie. Eliminate the new movie, and my ranking has changed. I've had a chance to like sit back, and as we've been doing all these movies over the last couple of months, like really think about which ones have the most rewatch value, and what I'd want to sit down and have a bowl of popcorn with, and a couple of soda pops, and yeah, it's definitely changed. So, looking forward to getting to that. Without further ado, man, why don't we start with number 6? What do you have at number 6?
Yeah, number 6 for me is gonna be that one right there, that last one. It's gonna be Scream 5 for me. I think I've been pretty vocal in past episodes that I was just not a Scream 5 person. It just did not really sit well with me. Maybe that was, I thought maybe it was because people overhyped it and I just kind of overhyped myself with the reviews. But I've seen it multiple times now, and I've kind of got a chance to obviously watch it multiple times, and it just doesn't sit well with me, man. I think one of the biggest complaints that I had with Scream 5 is just not really connecting with the characters. I was not a fan of the new cast outside of Mindy. I thought the writing was pretty bad. I don't like the fact that they kind of just threw in the legacy characters. Obviously, they killed Dewey off, which I had no problem with them killing Dewey off. I just think that it was kind of for nothing. It was kind of in the middle of the movie. Nothing happened, and they pouted about it for 35 seconds and then moved on. I just think Dewey deserved better. Again, I don't mind that they killed Dewey, but actually have his death mean something. Let him die for something. So I think those were probably my biggest problems with Scream 6.
So for me, wait, hang on. Scream? You meant Scream 5, right?
Yeah, Scream 5, my bad.
Oh, I was like, wait, what? Did your next viewing change your opinion that much on the movie? Wow. Say we haven't talked about that yet, man. Okay, so for me, dead last is Scream 4. I wanted to love that movie so much. The cast in it, like they had a star-studded lineup for that movie, and so much wasted opportunity. And I don't know, it doesn't hit right. I like the opening. I like all the ghost faces up on the light pole. I like what they're trying to do with Sydney at the beginning. And then I don't know. Once we get into the reporter stuff and everything with Jill, I don't know. A lot of that didn't hit with me, man. So Scream 4 for me is sadly number 6.
Well, I'll kind of follow that up because number 5 for me is going to be Scream 4. I know you said you didn't mind the opening, but I think this is one of the worst openings to a movie of all time. I thought it was super effing corny. It makes me cringe every time I watch it.
Sorry, the pre-credit, yeah, that's terrible. I meant the beginning of the movie where Ghostface, they have all the costumes up on the light pole and Sydney's going to
that's pretty cool.
Book. Yeah, I like just the mood and the atmosphere there.
Yeah, I thought the mood and the atmosphere of that opening with Sydney and her signing her book, I thought that was really good. I enjoyed the legacy characters in this one. I thought they were all pretty damn good. I liked Kirby. I'm not a big fan of the killers in this movie, although it was probably the movie that shocked me the most when it came to the reveals, especially with Jill. So I appreciate it for that. And really outside of that, I'm just not the biggest fan, man. I think it's pretty gory with the kill of the neighbor across the street. Sydney goes over to that next house and there's blood all over the walls and her guts are poured out of her stomach. I thought that was probably one of the most gory kills in the movie, but outside of that, just does not hit with me.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to like it. I was happy Scream was returning, and it just, I don't know, man. It for me, it's the least rewatchable of the entire series. Coming in at 5 for me is actually a Scream 3. For the longest time, I had Scream 3 in dead last, and after rewatching all the movies here recently, I gotta say 3 is far more rewatchable than 4. Like, I don't know what the fuck. The opening alone with Cotton is better than the entirety of Scream 4 for me. I know that might seem lunacy, but I don't know. I dig some of 3. I like Carrie Fisher in it. That little nod's cool. But at the end of the day, that opening, the Cotton opening, is a top 3 opening for me.
Coming in at number 4 for me. Now, I will say, once these next 4 movies, I absolutely love and I adore. The 2 that I just talked about, Scream 5 and Scream 4, they're just not it for me. But coming in at number 4, I'm gonna go with Scream 3. And I know I've said it before. I didn't think anything would break those first 3 movies for me. I enjoyed them that much. There was just something about the mood, atmosphere, and Ghostface that I really enjoyed with those first 3 movies that I never thought would there would be a movie that would break those. But yeah, coming in at number 4 is Scream 3. I love this movie. I think it gets a lot of hate. Um, and I don't understand why. I mean, there's some corny parts in it. Is it a perfect movie? No, like I definitely get that, but I enjoy the ending to this movie. I enjoy the opening, although I really do wish we got to spend a lot more time with Cotton. I do think it was a really, really good opening. So I love Scream 3 a lot more than a lot of people do. So coming in at number 4 for me is Scream 3.
Number 4 for me, Scream 5. Although I've seen a couple of times in the chat already that they think Scream 5 has suffered a little in terms of rewatchability. And I'll say this, I was much higher on Scream 5 when I first seen it than I am now. I still like it better than 3, and I still like it better than 4. But man, after seeing 6, and maybe this is recency bias, I'm definitely open to that. But after seeing 6, it's like, wow, like 5 isn't even close to being on the level of 6. Like, it's almost like they had a redo.
So yeah, man, we're now going into our top 3 films now. For me, coming in at number 3 is gonna be Scream 6. I absolutely love this movie. I adore this movie. I had a lot of reservations going into this movie because I did not like what they did with 5. But I think a couple things that I really have to point out with Scream 6 real quick is the character development in this movie was a lot better than 5. I thought the characters in general I connected with a lot more. I thought us getting more of General Ortega was a huge plus. Melissa Barea definitely 1000% did a 360 in my opinion. She was phenomenal in this movie. I did not like her performance at all in Scream 5. So as I do give her hate there, I have to give her her flowers and a lot of love here because she deserves it. She put on a hell of a performance. And then just the whole every scene that Ghostface was in, I absolutely adored it. I thought he was mean, vicious. The kills were really good. I do think they should have killed off Gail and Chad. And I really like seeing 2 Ghostface in costume on screen at the same time. That was pretty fucking cool. But yeah, man, I saw this movie twice, really thinking about going to see it a 6th time if possible. Scream 6 is amazing. It's my best movie of the year so far. We'll see how that holds up after I watch John Wick 4 this weekend. But yeah, man, Scream 6 coming in at number 3 for me.
Sorry, I'm attempting to multitask and realizing that they have updated Canva and I have no idea what I'm doing. All right. Yeah, man, I gotta say, I thought I was gonna like it better than the original. And I think the movie's paced way better than the original. I think Ghostface is the best he's ever been by a country mile in 6. And yet at the same time, it doesn't have Billy, not really. Doesn't have Stu. And I think those are important elements missing. And I will say this, yes, main characters needed to die in 6, but specifically in the franchise. Like, you had to eventually start chewing into the big 3. Dewey was missed in 6, though. Like, there was something about that was missed. But maybe that's why 6 felt a little more serious than the rest of the times. Is you didn't have, random, not random, but Dewey the idiot popping up saying something stupid every 5 minutes.
I understand.
So yeah, 6 is number 3 for me.
Coming in at number 2 for me is going to be Scream 2. I love this movie. I think it is one hell of an opening and one hell of a finish. I'm not the biggest fan of Mrs. Loomis as Ghostface. And I always thought I was never the biggest Mickey fan either as Ghostface. But I think one of the problems, really only problem I have with this movie is us really not spending a lot of time with Mickey outside of the Ghostface costume to really be able to connect with his character. So when that final reveal happens, there's a huge effect. I thought it was, although I liked the reveal, I didn't think the effect was there as much as I would have liked it, kind of like that first film. But yeah, I think it's a hell of a sequel. It's I think these next two movies are always going to be etched in stone for me. But I love Scream 2, man. It's a phenomenal movie. Hello.
Bloody hell, I was muted. That was 30 seconds of gold, now gone. It'll never get back. So for me, number 3 is the original. Sorry, number 2 is the original, not number 3. And I got to be honest, man, the original was almost number 3 for me. Now that's not knocking it per se, but I just 6 really, really made an impression on me. And I've always not liked the way the original film is paced, even though I love a lot of the stuff that's in the original film. But man, say what you want about the original flick. At the end of the day, that opening scene with Drew Barrymore gets me every time. Now, mind you, when that movie first came out, there were a lot of people not happy that Drew Barrymore was the first one killed, considering how heavily she was involved in the marketing.
Yeah, no, I get that, and that's kind of what I hear. But I thought for me, I'll kind of move on to that because it's my number one film. It's just one of my favorite horror films of all time, man. I think Billy and Stu were perfectly cast. I thought Stu's comedic relief, along with Randy's, was really, really good. And like that, the opening act and the ending act were phenomenal to me. I think it's one of the best openings to a horror film, if not movie, of all time, for the effect, the way it's paced, the delivery of it. It's so good. And then the ending, where although there's some joking in it, and are we going to ever find out what the motive is? I think this movie goes a lot deeper than what a lot of people give it credit for when Billy talks about abandonment and why his mom abandoned him. I mean, it's kind of the shock to not only Sydney, but you see Stu, how he gets super serious in that moment too, like he didn't even know that. So I thought that delivery was just done really, really well. So obviously number one coming in for me is the original.
So for me, one of the most just gravitating movie nights I ever had in my entire life. I remember it clear as day, and I had to be young, man. I don't even remember how old I was, but it's not like I seen Scream when it first came out. It would have been like the next year, I believe, and so I went to spend the night at my old neighbor's house because we'd moved away. And that night, we watched Titanic, and then we watched Scream 2. Sorry, not the original Scream, Scream 2. And I have to tell you, that movie scared the shit out of me as a kid. I don't find it scary now, like at all. But man, the car accident scene where he jumps out and gets Sid's Fred in there, holy fuck! Like I was petrified of that scene for years, and I just like thinking back to that night because, like, for me, in terms of my love of fandom, that was such an important night for me in terms of just taking in two very different movies that I wouldn't normally watch.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree. That is, man, I love Scream 2, so you're not going to get a lot of pushback from me at all.
Well, that is going to do it for our little Scream countdown. I know that's a little short, but we're going to be talking some Star Wars here momentarily. And before we do, though, Mike, why don't you let everybody know what you have coming up on the channel?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Mike's
Yeah.
channel.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to the Take One podcast over on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Got a lot of good stuff coming up here shortly. Not sure exactly what we have coming in the coming weeks, or I guess what I have coming in the next couple of weeks, but we'll figure it out. And right now, you can go over and listen to our recent ranking of Rocky Creed, and then our Scream 6 movie review live. Easily the best live show I've done. The panel on there is absolutely phenomenal. So make sure you head over to the Take One podcast, subscribe, and yeah, give it a like, and I greatly appreciate that.
Helps when I'm not muted. All right, man. Thanks for this. We are going to take just like a 90-second break, and we're going to be back talking some Star Wars, and we'll see Mike in a couple of weeks. Take it easy, buddy.
All right, man. Later, y'all.
Can you hear me? Testing. Okay, good. I'm still live. We'll be back in about 45 seconds. Problems with fake green screen. Joining us for the first time in God knows how long on a public stream, it's Mr. Tommy B. And dude, might I say, you look as miserable as 95% of the Star Wars fans out there today. You look like you're ready to, what's that line? Pull the ears off a Gundar? I believe that's the line. Empire Strikes Back. It's Tommy B. What's going on, buddy?
Go fuck yourself.
Glad to see some things never change.
Telling me I look like pissed as shit.
That's right. Still in the lineup card. That little going nowhere. Look,
I'm hanging in there. You know, it's past my bedtime, but this is a good show to stay up for. I'm happy to be here.
so does anybody want a potentially massive spoiler for the Mando episode in the morning? Do you want one, Tommy? I'll type it to you in the chat. I don't think I'm going to say it on air.
I'm pretty sure it's what I already know. So, I don't see it happening.
Oh, it's happening.
I don't see it happening. That's a bit much. Okay, that's
Think
not
about
as bad.
think about why he's doing all this and what that thing would be at that time. Think about it. Not the same as the smaller ones, we'll say. Everyone's like, fuck your code, guys. Just come out with it. I don't know that for certain, but that has started to make rounds this evening and on Twitter and from some pretty notable accounts that I'm not going to throw under the bus because they could be absolutely right. But we'll see. Maybe it's not. But the logic does kind of line up. It does. I see it. I feel it. I hear it. Is the spoiler going to be trash? I could see there being severe backlash to that from some people, but I could also see people. I know I'm being vague here. And before we go off, I'll be blunt with what the rumor is. But I could also see it being like the huge fan service moment and a hallway scene for, I guess it'd kind of be like his second one. That's a bit of a spoiler there. What's going on, George? Long time no see, buddy. Hope you're well. I think Steven's still in here. Hey, we got Tony hanging out behind the scenes, not saying anything. T-Dog. Tommy. This kills me that we even have to talk about this tonight. And there were supposed to be two other people joining us, and they no-showed. So, one of them was a maybe. But as of today, it's being reported and essentially confirmed by the man himself that Damon Lindelof, writer behind Emmy Award-winning Lost, writer behind Emmy Award-winning Watchmen, and writer behind Emmy Award-winning The Leftovers. I think what I'm getting at here is the guy is very good at his job. Is out. He's gone. And this is coming from Jeff Snyder, formerly of Collider, now with Above the Line, and I think he does some other stuff. I know he does a show with, might even be called Above the Line, I'm not sure. But I know he does a show with the outlaw, Mr. John Roca. I've been watching those guys for years. Used to watch them in the movie Trivia Schmodown. Jeff knows his stuff. If we were the place that had a bunch of the Halloween Kill stuff, Jeff was the guy that had stuff on the entire trilogy before it was even announced, and he was the first one putting that out there. So it's funny how all that sort of comes back full circle. He has said that he's out. He's gone, man. Lindelof, the guy who was supposed to be at Celebration next month when they announced or at least it was perceived to be that he'd be at Celebration next month. When they announced their new movies, they were making a big deal out of it. Now, I should state this clearly. The movie is not canceled. ... Yet. But there has been some movement, and the reports are that this was supposed to begin filming at the latest by the beginning of this summer. And now the date has changed to February 2024. They're hopeful to begin shooting then. So my guess is this thing probably isn't even going to get mentioned at Celebration. And I don't think Taika Waititi has the availability to film the 2025 movie slot that we were just promised again by them. Them being Disney. I got to tell you, man, there's a realistic possibility we don't get a movie in 2025. And Damon Lindelof had this to say to Slash Film when he spoke with them literally 2 days before this broke everywhere else. And that was essentially that, sorry, cat won't leave me alone. Essentially that Star Wars should be great. Shouldn't just be like another movie that you go see. It shouldn't be, one of 3 Star Wars movies to come out a year. It should be special. It should be great. And if it's not going to be great, it shouldn't be made. And then 2 days later, we find out he is gone. Now it's being reported he left back in February. It's also being reported that there is already a replacement writer, or a writer doing another phase of the script, another draft of the script, on board, but we don't know who that is. But it wasn't just Lindelof that left. Keep this in mind. It wasn't Lindelof that just left. It was his writing partner. It was believed that he had brought other people onto the project as well, almost had his own writer's room. Now, there's various reports out there. I know Jason from Making Star Wars thinks that the writer's room is essentially the Star Wars story group, if you will. But Bespin Bulletin, they actually had a great episode today. You should go check that out, Making Star Wars on YouTube. Had mentioned, Bespin Bulletin had mentioned that that no, he did in fact bring in his own people, and the belief is that they're gone, all of them. And keep in mind, he's the one that requested the director to be attached to the film, whose name is escaping me. She doesn't have much. She directed, I think, 2 episodes of Miss Marvel, and she directed some nature specials that I believe she won some awards for as well. Dude, the whole thing's a fucking mess. Again, what are your thoughts? I'm going to go on a rant here in a bit, and it's not going to be pretty. But your thoughts on, maybe the movie comes out, and maybe I'd love to say that, like, I've seen all on social media today. Oh, well, everything's going to be fine. It's just like, right. But they didn't just like move on to another phase as if this was scheduled. Filming was supposed to begin soon, and now it ain't going to happen till sometime next year for a movie that, by the way, has already cast its 2 primaries. I don't know, man. I'm basically ready to throw in the towel on the Star Wars cinematic universe in terms of its future, because I like some of what they're doing on TV, but you, in my opinion, with all due respect, would have to be straight up fucking delusional to not think that, 1, this is a horrible fucking look for the franchise, and 2, there's massive issues here. And I'm not just pointing at Kathleen Kennedy either. That's easy target. There's other issues going on here, and we haven't even touched on the Knights of the Old Republic remake, and that's a mess too. So, your thoughts, Tommy, on just more disaster and what they can do to change this bullshit?
So, what I'll say, Sean, is I would recommend that you and those who have a similar reaction as you to adopt a perspective like me. Sounds like I'm a little bit full myself, but it is what it is. As far as Star Wars movies go, I'm not saying I'm here to throw the towel in. I'm saying I don't have a towel to throw in. I have no expectations. We went how many years between episode 3 and episode 7? That's basically the same mode I've been in ever since, the sequel trilogy became what it ended up becoming. It's absolutely disappointing, and we've seen nothing but falter, and more faltering by Lucas leadership ever since things they started dropping the ball on it. I have no expectations. I have no towel to throw in. I really enjoy what's going on in the quote-unquote TV world right now. The Disney Plus, with everything they do, that's Star Wars. That, and as you and I know, the audio books, the audio dramas, and some folks like to read them, of course. Many folks like to read them, of course. But I've been listening to audiobooks. For me, those are the new Star Wars for me right now. If they release a Star Wars movie, I'll go see it. But it's going to take a bit to win me back to the movies are the ultimate form of Star Wars. I'm not going to lie. Other projects, I've enjoyed them a heck of a lot more than I have the movies in recent years. And that's just not, it's not going to change. That's one of those things, with the meme change my mind. You can try to change my mind. I don't see it happening. We've been going back and forth about the first 3 books that Zahn has released over the past few years. They're fantastic. They're works of art. Honestly, at this point today, I think I'm 70-some percent, maybe 80, I don't know, percent past the third one, Treason. I have no issue saying I've probably enjoyed going through these now as an adult more than I did the original Thrawn trilogy as a kid.
They're really well done, and I hope to God when they do their big Thrawn thing, and they are, and it ain't a one and done situation, that they don't just ignore those events, because those events are way too big.
I'll be ripped apart. I will be ripped apart if
You'll alienate your fan base if you do that. You got to do it in a way where people who didn't read the books can follow along, obviously. But if you strip all that you've built away in what is supposed to be all canon, you're just inviting yourself to more bullshit.
So that's where we are. That is where we are. We have to just figure out what comes next. What comes next for Star Wars? What comes next for Star Wars cinema? I have no idea. I don't put any stock on any project they have in there right now for the cinema, because where is it? I haven't seen anything yet. You need to at least have a trailer for me at this point, I think, or be pretty darn close to a trailer for me to really follow something seriously. And I'm getting ready to sneeze, so I'm going to stop talking now.
Yeah, I have reached the point of I have frustrations with the fandom. I've never liked people that, okay, so I cover this, so it must always be the best and can never do anything wrong, because that's just fucking catering bullshit, and I have no time for that. If you do, great. I don't. And like, to those people, whether you're a fan, whether you're a fan who's running a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever, the list is ridiculous. Benioff and Weiss, the Game of Thrones guys, not just one movie canceled, several. It was supposed to be a series of movies. We had the Josh Trank thing tanked. That was going to be Boba Fett related. We had Gareth Edwards essentially benched during Rogue One and Tony Gilroy coming in to finish the job. We had Trevorrow fired from Rise of Skywalker, and then we had the rush job by Terrio and Abrams, which, whatever the fuck that movie, like that, if you love that movie, I'm happy for you. But for me personally, and it's subjective, so this is just my opinion, the movie is a fucking dumpster fire and far and away the worst movie they have ever made. And it shows. It shows it was rushed. There's reports from a bunch of reputable places that they were improvising shit on set. Not that that's a bad thing, but like they were trying to rush something out to meet a date. And it's like, and it shows. At the time I was like, yeah, fuck The Last Jedi. Not because I thought The Last Jedi was a poorly made movie. The Last Jedi is an incredibly well-made movie, shot fantastic. I just don't like some of the creative decisions. Like, it really hit me in a bad way. But going back and looking at it in retrospect, it's like, at first when I watched The Rise of Skywalker, it's like, yeah, it basically just shit all over The Last Jedi. But you know what The Last Jedi is? A well-fucking-made movie where there wasn't a ton of drama behind the scenes, and the project ran fairly smoothly and came out not necessarily on time, because it did get backed up by 6 months. But it came out without issue, really. And the same could not be said for Solo. The same could not be said for The Rise of Skywalker. And really, in my opinion, regardless of what the fuck they come out and announce on stage at Star Wars Celebration, you would have to be one naive person to think that you're guaranteed to get anything from them cinematically for who knows how long, because literally the failures or the projects that have not gone forward, some of them of which they've officially announced. We didn't even touch on the fact that Kevin Feige is out and Patty Jenkins is out now. And Michael Waldron, who is a part of Kevin Feige's thing, also out. Like, it's fucking bananas, dude. Like, it's gone from just disappointing to you're literally tarnishing your brand. Now, to the average moviegoer who just likes Star Wars, no. But for diehards, or even semi-diehards who know what the fuck has happened, it's gutting, man. It's not fun. I don't like coming on here talking about this. But it's, for me, I can wait another fucking 15 years for a Star Wars movie as long as they do it properly. Now, let me ask you this, Tommy. If they're not going to start shooting the thing till February, and that's what they hope. Let's remember, people, that there's a writer's strike that comes in May, a big one, and it's happening, and shit's going to shut down. So if they don't start shooting till February, which seems like pie in the sky if they don't have something ready basically before the writer's strike, isn't this starting to sound a whole lot like The Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah.
And no offense, I don't have any fucking interest in seeing a product like that again. That's just me. If you loved it, great. And I'm not even talking about the creative decisions. I'm just talking about the way the movie's put together. It's an awful fucking rush job. It looks like it was just thrown together to meet a release date, and I just kills me.
I would probably go see it, but it would probably end up with the same reception from me as The Rise of Skywalker got, which is I never picked up a copy of the film. Still will do it. I'll do it eventually, but I never picked up a copy of the film, and I think it took me a year or two to see it a second time.
Yeah, it's bad.
Two or three. When did the movie come out?
2019. Jensen wasn't even born.
Yeah. Wow.
Bro, I don't know how long he's been here for. He wasn't here a while ago, but
howdy. I have a Darth Vader covering up half my face. That looks weird.
Don't know how to move him, so I'll have to lose him.
Internet played a game of fuck around and find out. Sadly, I found out.
I have a feeling that's going to be my life for the next 5 months. So,
preview of coming attractions, I guess.
I don't want to see them. We're only going here for about another 10 minutes and we're getting off. But Johnny, I'm assuming by now you've heard the news. If not, maybe not. Damon Lindelof.
That news. Okay.
The next Star Wars movie that was literally to be announced and sort of presented in a way at Star Wars Celebration next month is gone, as well as his team.
I mean, yeah. This is one of those things where normally the studio would kind of get the benefit of the doubt, because it's so early in production that, if somebody turns in a script that everyone is kind of like, what is this? This isn't what we want. You get changes. But, the Star Wars team at Disney has not endeared themselves to that benefit of the doubt. This is, at this point, what, the 5th, 6th movie that's gone through,
Way more. Because think about it. Benioff and Weiss were supposed to have a series. So let's cut them some slack and say it was a trilogy, even though they said for a fact it was not a trilogy. It was going to be 4 more movies. So you have those, let's say 3. 3 of them are gone. Rian Johnson had 3 that are apparently not canceled, but are on the shelf for now. So we'll give them a pass on those ones. Even though the project still came out, they had massive issues on Rogue One. They had massive issues on Solo. They had massive issues on The Rise of Skywalker, all of which involved people either being benched or fired, and not just like, oh, hey, the makeup artist for whomever. No, we're talking about writers and directors. And then you have all the canceled projects too, man. It's and they're saying that it's still going, but let's remember that they have a thing for being like, oh, so bad news, but good news. The Game of Thrones guys are doing this, and then, oh, the Game of Thrones. Literally, this is how it played. Oh, the Game of Thrones guys aren't doing this anymore. But Kevin Feige and Taika Waititi and Patty Jenkins. And guess what? Only one of them still exists, and he doesn't know when he'll have time to even write his. I don't know how anybody in their right mind can sit in front of a camera or a microphone, even though you can't really see mine. Oh, look at what Ghostface is doing.
Trying to eat it.
Yeah. Anyway. And sit here and go, everything's fine. This is totally normal. It's not. And I'm not like, oh, Kathleen Kennedy needs to be fired today or whatever. And maybe that does need to happen. It sounds like she might be on her way out anyways, if you're listening to John Campia. After Indy, we'll see if that happens. It'll be on her terms though, more than likely. It's not normal, dude. What's going on? Their TV stuff, a lot of it is really good. We're not talking TV. I'm specifically talking the Star Wars cinematic universe or whatever the fuck they're calling it. I'm almost completely checked out, and I never thought I'd be that in my life.
It's a reality we've sort of fallen face first into. You hit on all the projects that we know about, and that's the thing. Those are the ones we know about. There are probably a hell of a lot more that, of creators, directors, writers, people who are, putting in bids and projects and, offering up ideas that are probably pretty damn good that they're just saying, no, thanks, not interested. No, thanks, not interested. And, they're leaving us with these sort of dying on the vine projects. This is the thing with the way they've run the Star Wars cinematic universe since Disney took over, is that I applaud the idea of, taking this vast universe and bringing it to the big screen and cinema and TV and all these other places that, they can bring it. And the idea of making it all canon is just, it's so rosy and fun, but it's not sustainable. It never was. People, again, the comparison's always thrown. Well, Marvel did it. No, they didn't. Not like that. The Marvel canon still exists. The comic books still exist, and they have nothing to do with the movies that we know. There are so many comic book lines that have not been touched by the cinematic universe that still exist, that, exist outside of the canon. Like, I mean, characters are so vastly they're different people in some series. They're different, backgrounds, just so different that it shows that the minute they took over, the decision to wipe their feet on the doormat and say, Legends doesn't exist anymore, was the worst decision they could have made.
Yeah, how's that working out? What are they now? Where is all their successful shit they have going on right now stemming from, or versions of? Just saying.
Like, the problem was never them saying that, okay, the numbered films are all that are canon, and that's fine. Like, people still would have had their issues and their tizzies, but you're not cutting support to everyone else. You're still keeping. I mean, at the time Disney took over, we still had what previously announced series. There was still 10, 12 books, something like that, announced.
There was a lot of books that got canceled, including the entire Sword of the Jedi trilogy, which was going to be Jaina Solo based with Ben Skywalker supporting.
Imperial Commando #2 with Karen Travis.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff got axed, man. The Star Wars TV series did get axed, but really, essentially, and what we didn't know till after the fact is George Lucas's planned next 3 movies got axed, and who knows if he would have liked them or not. I guess it depends on what he would have done next. I assure you, a lot of people will be like, "Well, what would have been the prequels again?" I can guarantee you, it would not have, regardless of what you think of it, he would have done something new. That's his MO, to go and do something.
Well, on top of that, if you've been around this channel or it's previously Chronicles long enough to know, I hate the prequels, but I don't hate the prequels because it wasn't one continuous story. It was an arc that was well told. As far as an arc went, it had its designated plot points 1, 2, 3. It hit its notes. I mean, yes, it was a preordained destination, and some of it was subpar writing, but that's the difference. It was subpar writing. It wasn't, it all made sense. That's the big difference. And if you look at the sequel trilogy, there is no cohesiveness. It's three independent, it's three different students are told to write a project, and nobody shows up to the group sessions, and you end up with such a vastly different thing. Like, yes, the characters are the same, but the stories are just, grossly incongruent that, they make no sense as a trilogy. There is no trilogy.
It's again, for me, oh, Johnny's covered again. Fucking Vader. I'm just checked out, man. Like, I'm basically there. It's like, okay, I no longer care what you talk about at Celebration unless it's TV related at this point, because you have shown no ability whatsoever to produce any movie. And if you want to take a look at the previous two movies, you had what you have. You had The Rise of Skywalker, which in my opinion is a dumpster fire, and Abrams and Terrio were rushed so badly on that one, and they still put it out, which is just mind-boggling. And then Solo, which flopped financially, and people will point to The Last Jedi and other stuff. At the end of the day, regardless of the reasons, it's the biggest financial flop of a Star Wars movie. I kind of like the movie. I don't love it. I like it. But yeah, that means the last successful, non-problematic Star Wars movie was, in fact, Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. Now, obviously, fan response was very problematic. But in terms of the production, in terms of the way it's shot, how it looks, and did everything run fairly smoothly, and they stuck to their guns and put out the movie, yeah, man, I look at what they're going through now and go, I think I owe Rian Johnson an apology. I still don't agree with creative decisions, and that'll never change for me. But in terms of you did the work, you busted your ass, there are super redeeming parts of that movie. But at the end of the day, it's still better than the shit we got now.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about the sequel trilogy so much, here on this channel, and like I said, previous Star Wars shows we've done in the past, that the problem was never 8 per se. The problem was that 8 came after 7, which sounds ridiculous when you think about it, but when you actually say it, makes a lot of sense, because independent of each other, they're both great movies. In the context of a sequel, it's sort of like, if you take it, this is the example, I guess, in my head right now. It seems sort of appropriate based on the background of the Ghostface mask you're wearing right now. Episode 7 was Scream. Episode 8 was Stab. Both in the same universe, but independently have nothing to do with each other. One exists, one is fictive. It's just, the sort of the same ideas, the same principles, but make no sense if one follows the other.
Yeah, I mean, my best advice for everybody going forward, if you're someone that follows Star Wars news, assume nothing, and you might be better off for it. There's people that already have the date marked on the calendar because Disney's announced the date. I'm telling you, don't marry yourself to the idea that there's going to be a Star Wars movie in 2025, because there's just as much likely chance that we find out that the movie's canceled a year from now. And it's deflating. It's depressing, it is what it is. Anyways, final thoughts. Tommy, anything positive you're hoping for out of the world of Star Wars? We know cinematic's not really going that way.
Yeah, I mean, TV's good. I'm looking forward to Mandalorian tomorrow. They'll probably... They need to work on episode lengths for all the series, and hopefully they get better on... The animated's been fine, I think, in my opinion. Bad Batch episode length's been fine. Not that you would know that. I've been enjoying that. I've been enjoying Mando. We got good stuff on the horizon with the other series to come out later this year and in the future. So at least we got that going for us. We got some good, book/audio media going on out there. So it's not all doom and gloom. Just, maybe they got a clean house. Maybe they got to, tighten the belt, whatever, on the cinema to make that start turning out some quality.
Yeah, something's got to change. I'm not saying I have the answer, but something's got to change. Johnny, how about you, man?
I think Tommy said exactly everything right. Cinematically, it's a house on fire. But on the small screen, it is flourishing. It is thriving. It is succeeding. It is, Star Wars TV is the foundation Disney Plus is built on. Some people would argue MCU. Well, no, not really, because, as far as Marvel TV goes on Disney Plus, there was really only one successful series. And it has only gone one season so far. It's not this multi-hit. It's sort of the opposite of Star Wars, where everything Star Wars does on TV is gold, and everything they do on cinema has turned to dust. Marvel's the exact opposite.
I'd say Marvel was the exact opposite. They're getting battered the last this phase. Really, they're getting battered. But my advice to people on that side,
that's because I said this back when the last phase was ending. I sort of said this phase is going to stink because it's a rebuilding phase.
Speaking of Marvel and Star Wars, cannot confirm this, but it's coming from Bespin Bulletin, and he didn't put out an official report on this. He said he heard, but the fact that it was him that heard and they had some evidence to back it up. Apparently, Robert Downey Jr. has been cast in Star Wars, specifically as the voice of the villain of Skeleton Crew, which might make some sense because Skeleton Crew is done by John Watts. So there's some connections there for sure. And I dig that. And, if there's a way to have him involved in Star Wars, but not be like, oh, hey, there's Iron Man. A voice makes some sense to me, especially if it's going to be a pivotal one, too. So
it's all what the character is, I guess.
I don't know anything. I wish I could tell you. I don't. Other than there was a guy that looked like Oscar the Grouch on Mandalorian episode 1, season 3. And then last but not least, we said we would give it's not a confirmed spoiler, but it's a possible spoiler about tonight's Mando episode. And Johnny, you might not want to listen to this one if you don't want to be spoiled because it's a big one.
Well, I know the title, so it's pretty assuming what the next episode is going to be about.
Okay, well, they've already showed a trailer for it. We're going back to Order 66. And there's a rumor out there, and it's really gaining steam tonight. And Star Wars Meg was actually one that covered it a bit. And she has some association with making Star Wars. But apparently, it might be Anakin that saves Grogu. And the tie to that, I actually agree with the tie, but I don't think they're going to do it. I'm telling you, I think people are getting worked up, and it's going to be like, the clones come through the door and random faceless Jedi gets them to the escape pod area or whatever. And a pod gets launched from the temple or whatever. But the logic makes sense. Why is Anakin doing Order 66? It's simple. His wife and his child. That's the whole point for him turning. It's not because he wants to be the most powerful. He doesn't want to be powerful, but his motivation is to save his wife because he thinks the exact same thing is going to happen to her it happened to his mom. And I guess the jury's out on if that would have happened or not. And what would Grogu be at that time? Literally, I know people think he's a baby in Mandalorian, but like literally a baby. I can see it. I know people be like younglings. He killed the younglings, and I'm not here to say what's the difference, but I could see that hitting. That said, I think people are working themselves up, and I could totally see it being like a random clone. We've seen some of the clones fight Order 66 already, and have
If
tomorrow.
that happens, you know what social media is going to be tomorrow.
Oh yeah, and it won't be everybody hates it. It'll be half the people fucking love it, and half the people hate it.
I knew Anakin was always a good guy.
Yeah, it's not like he slaughtered those kids 5 minutes before sparing Grogu. Right? Like, don't be surprised if it's like the clip is 45 seconds long and it's random faceless Jedi that gets Grogu, or like Barriss Offee I've seen rumored. But the Anakin stuff, for good, for better or for worse, would blow up social media. Make no mistake.
Wait, who was it? Was supposed to be in Obi-Wan that we never saw? Was it Plo Koon?
No.
Then which one was it? I don't want the Jedi. The one that was the signature on the tunnel in the smuggler tunnel.
Oh my God, the dreads.
Yeah.
He has the mark across his face. Why can't I think of his name? He has the book with oh wow, I'm drawing blank.
Right?
This is killing me.
Hold on, Google. Kid Fisto. No, that's not it.
What?
I type in. Oh, it changed my auto thing to Green Jedi with dreads. That's not right. Come on, there's your face. What's it? Quinlan Voss.
That's it. Quinlan was here. Yes, Quinlan Voss. I'll say this,
and that would make sense too, because that would have been, one of his areas of teaching, right? Like, it's assumed that he was in the temple during Order 66.
I don't know if it is or not, because there's a book that came out with him and Asajj Ventress, and they were like a thing, and it's canon. Although we're about to find out how much they care about books and canon. Keep watching this year. Fingers crossed they don't totally fuck over Timothy Zahn. But anyways, that is going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for coming out, fellas. Big thanks to Mike Bish. Check out his podcast, the Take One Podcast. He's got all sorts of good shit coming there. Johnny, you got anything going on, man?
Got some stuff planned, but nothing in the Iron Core phases yet.
Tommy B, what about you, man? Where can people find you?
Nowhere.
That's right. He hates you all. Confirmed. Tommy B, drinking the haterade. Good night, people. Stay safe. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Can't promise you the connection's going to be any good. Ciao. And hey, by then, maybe the whole movie will be canceled. Good night.